What happens when the people meant to protect you become the ones you fear the most? Michael Grant had money, friends, and a promising future. But what he didn't know was that his greatest danger lived under his own roof, in the form of his parents. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear is a chilling reminder that sometimes the deadliest betrayals come not from the outside world, but from within the walls of family. The story unfolds in Columbus, Ohio, in the late 2000s. The Grants lived on a quiet cul-de-sac, where children rode bikes until dusk, and neighbors waved across neatly trimmed lawns. To any passerby, the Grant household looked ordinary: brick front, blue shutters, and a garden Elaine, Michael's mother, once lovingly tended. But inside, tension brewed, silence often replaced conversation at the dinner table. Where laughter once echoed, now the clink of cutlery was the loudest sound. To outsiders, the Grants were a picture of family stability. But those who knew them well sensed an invisible storm gaining force. Michael Grant, a first-generation college graduate who defied the odds. Growing up, Michael worked part-time jobs to help with bills, tutoring classmates in maths and coding before the tech boom swept through the Midwest. By his late 20s, his app had been acquired by a major Silicon Valley firm, making him a millionaire. Michael invested in local youth programs, donated laptops to schools, and bought his parents a new car. Yet beneath his generosity, he carried a quiet sadness. He longed for his parents' pride, but often felt their approval was conditional. Michael's father, Richard Grant, a man shaped by hard labor and the sting of economic decline. Richard had worked 30 years in a steel plant before automation rendered him obsolete. Unemployed and embittered, he drowned his frustrations in alcohol. To Richard, Michael's success was a cruel reminder of his own failures. Neighbors recalled his bitter remarks: "What good's a son if he makes you feel small in your own house?" By early 2009, the cracks had widened. Michael had just purchased a new home in an upscale neighborhood, intending to move in soon. He had invited his parents to join him, but Richard took offense. "So you think we're too poor for this place?" he reportedly snapped. The night of the crime began like any other. A neighbor walking her dog heard raised voices around 9:30 p.m., the words muffled but angry. Inside, Michael confronted his parents after discovering unusual withdrawals attempted from his bank account. Investigators later pieced together that the confrontation spiraled into a heated argument. Richard grabbed the heavy clock from the mantel, an heirloom passed down from his own father. One blow was enough to end Michael's life. Elaine, panicked yet calculating, suggested staging the scene as a robbery. Drawers were ransacked, jewelry scattered across the floor, and the back door was left ajar. To them, it looked convincing. To detectives, it looked careless. When officers arrived for the welfare check 2 days later, the smell of stillness filled the house. The staged burglary quickly unraveled under scrutiny. There were valuables left untouched: Michael's laptop, expensive watches, and even his car keys. The back door, allegedly forced open, showed no splintering or tool marks. Detective Morrison noticed something else: Elaine's emotional performance at the scene felt rehearsed. She wept but never asked how her son had died. Instead, she demanded, "Who would do this to us?" Phone records cracked the case open. Despite claiming they'd been at a friend's house across town, Richard and Elaine's mobile towers placed them at home during the time of death. Forensics tied Elaine's fingerprints to the murder weapon. The investigation took months, but the narrative grew airtight. Financial records showed the couple had attempted to siphon money from Michael's accounts. Friends revealed Michael had confided fears just days before his death, saying, "It feels like they don't want me around anymore. Like my success made me their enemy." The courtroom was packed. Local media dubbed it the Family Betrayal Trial. Prosecutors painted Richard and Elaine as envious parents who saw their son not as a blessing, but as a bank account. In one dramatic moment, prosecutors played Michael's final voicemail to a friend, his voice heavy with unease. The jury sat in silence, many visibly moved. Richard's defense claimed the murder was accidental, the result of a heated argument. Elaine's attorneys argued she had no part in the killing, only in panicked cover-up. But the evidence was overwhelming. After deliberating for just 10 hours, the jury returned with guilty verdicts. Richard and Elaine were sentenced to life in prison without parole. The verdict sent shockwaves through Columbus. Parents were supposed to nurture, not destroy. Churches held vigils for Michael, and headlines captured the city's heartbreak. From pride to jealousy, parents convicted in son's murder. At Michael's memorial, a childhood friend read from his journal. "All I ever wanted was to make them proud. If success means losing family, maybe it's not worth it." The words pierced those gathered. Teachers remembered his brilliance, neighbors recalled his kindness, and community leaders vowed to carry on his work with local youth. But nothing could erase the haunting reality: Michael's biggest dream, to share his success with his parents, had become the very reason for his death. Michael Grant's story forces us to face a painful truth. Success can elevate us, but it can also magnify hidden fractures. For some families, it builds pride. For others, it fuels envy strong enough to turn love into hate. So I leave you with this question: if the people we trust most can be driven by envy, how safe are any of us within the walls we call home? If you found this story compelling, subscribe for more true crime narratives where we uncover the dark truths hidden in everyday life. This story is a fictionalized true crime narrative created for entertainment and educational purposes. Any resemblance to actual persons or events is purely coincidental.